the entire message of the Bhagavad Gita, in fact, the entire Vedanta philosophy, hinges on one word, which is sacrifice. It is the sacrifice of the ego and the egocentric desires that come out of the ego. This is it. The whole thing boils down to that. The river has to be sacrificed for it to become the ocean. Similarly, you have to sacrifice this I and all these egocentric desires if you want to merge with the self, with Brahman, God, the reality, whatever name you call it. So that's the pivot. That's what he says earlier in the Gita, Tasmad Sarvagatam Brahma Nityam Yajne Pratishtitam. Therefore, the all-pervading Brahman ever rests in sacrifice. So from the time of the Vedas, that sacrificial ritual was everything. It was a ritual meant to convey this. So there were no gods or goddesses required. There was nothing. It was because everything was conveyed in that one practice you did. It's a reminder. So the fire represents Agni. Fire is a symbol of Brahman, symbol of the reality. So worshipping that symbol or idol of fire is bhakti, devotion, right? And the fire, you pour ghee or grain. Both are food. Food symbolizes the body, the individuality. So this is Jnana Yoga. In the fire of knowledge, as you gain this spiritual knowledge, the ego and egocentric desires dissolve away. And in the Gita, the same Yajna was explained as Karma Yoga. So the fire represents a common field of action. Could be your community, your country, whatever higher purpose you work for, your company. And in that you pour your efforts. Everybody does it together. This is Karma Yoga. You do that and your selfishness drops away. So this is what you must understand. In one ritual, your whole spiritual practice was symbolized. And that's what this word is, Tyaga. Tyaga means that sacrifice of ego and egocentric desires. That's all it boils down to. That is Tyaga. Now you may say, why should I sacrifice? Because as long as you have an ego and these egocentric desires, you will suffer. You will be unfulfilled. You will be lost completely. So ultimately, what are you sacrificing? What are you giving up? You're giving up sorrow. What's your problem? Do you understand? And people run away from this word. Tyaga, they hear and they run for their lives. This word renunciation. Oh, what do you mean? Now, this is where knowledge comes in. When you understand, you are only giving up sorrow to enjoy the bliss within of the self. That's what the Upanishads say. Tena tyaktena bhunjitha. By that renunciation, may you enjoy. Ma grida kasyas with dhanam. You don't need to covet anybody's wealth outside because you have it all inside. So something which is so positive over thousands of years has turned into something literally so frightening because of misunderstanding. It's very sad. Very sad. So good old days, you learned this knowledge as a youngster and you went back into your life as a grihastha, householder, armed with these principles of right living. And you slowly overcame all those desires through your life. And then reached the highest. That was what an ideal life was all about. Where is that and where is this? You have no clue of anything. Your parents had no clue. Their parents, some ritual somebody hangs on to and they call themselves spiritual. So, this is the word tyaga. So, in the first verse of this chapter, the final chapter, I told you this chapter he summarizes the whole teaching. Arjuna asked these words. What is the difference between tyaga and sannyasa? So, Krishna explains. Tyaga is the practice. Sannyasa is the effect. That's all. You have to work for a higher purpose in your life and sacrifice this selfishness, and then you will reach a state where you're fully detached, completely objective, and your only interest is in self-realization, nothing else, no thought of anything else. That is the state of sannyasa. So that's a very high state. So that's what he asked Arjuna to focus on, tyaga. And in the fourth verse, which we begin today, he elaborates. Look, this word tyaga you have to really understand, because you could be practicing false tyaga, false relinquishment. And you must understand what is sattvic tyaga, the true detachment, the true renunciation. So friends, at least all of you should know that there is nothing frightening about this. You are only giving up your misery. You're only taking up happiness. Now, what is your problem? So, it's a very practical philosophy that you apply. This principle of renunciation you have to apply in every aspect of life. Attach, you lose. Detach, you gain. You want anything also, you got to give it up. Because only when you give up that craving is your mind free. And when you're free, you can focus and produce. So, anything you want in the world, it's that principle of sacrifice. So that's why the first word of the Vedas is that Agnim Mire Deva. I glorify the fire as God, as Brahman. Because the fire, Yajnasya Purohitam, it enables sacrifice. Ratna Dhatam, and it is sacrifice which gives you wealth. Wealth means spiritual wealth, incidentally material. So, those 4-5 words convey everything.